morning, everyone. So we are going to have a session that is nearly as brief as the one we had yesterday to talk about 2 Samuel 24. I think the characters that I identified there are the Lord, David, Joab, and Araunah. Okay, and Gad, the prophet Gad, yeah? So let's start with God. The Bible says that the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and then he moved David. So that's what this account says in 2 Samuel 22. When we go to Chronicles, I think it's 2 Chronicles or 1 Chronicles, it says it was Satan that moved David. So whether it was the Lord or Satan, there was evil determined against Israel. Because if we go with the account of the Lord, it was because the Lord was angry with Israel that he moved David. Otherwise, it was Satan. So the thing to pause about is that I don't think that there was what they call it, an inconsistency. I believe that the Lord in his anger permitted Satan to go and do what he had to do. So then Satan was perhaps the one that delivered the message, but it was God in his anger that let Satan do what he wanted to do. Satan is always happy to execute because that's what he's been looking for. And my understanding is that he was able to get judgment from the courts of heaven to say that let's do this against Israel, because Israel was guilty of whatever he went to the courts of the Lord to accuse them of. So you can say it was Satan's hand, but it was God that gave him the permission. God removed his cover from Israel, and Satan was able to execute his plan. So there was divinity at work anyway. So then let's go to David. David was the instrument through whom that decision came. And it just shows us a lot about how the spiritual governs the physical, because you just see people are acting somehow. They're acting irrational. They were just unkind to you. They just did something to you. They made a pronouncement that did not favor you. Sometimes it's because Satan has got a judgment in the courts of heaven against you, and these people are being used as the human agents to execute. So if you're not careful, you focus on them, but if you are mindful, you will understand that it's not coming from them. So in this case, it was Israel that was the target. Israel was the one that was supposed to be punished, but it had to come through decisions that David the king made. And David made his decree, and Joab, that was our guy that we had issues with, he tried to persuade David that he should not do the census. Again, taking us to the fact that it could be good and it could not be God. There was nothing wrong with doing a census. God had said that if they were going to do a census, they could do it, but that they had to take an offering and give an offering every time they have to do it, and it has to be at God's. God has to be the one to ask for it. So it has to be God that calls for the census, and it has to be done by His way. But in this case, evil was determined against Israel, so they had to be punished, and there had to be an occasion, something that had to. So when David went ahead, and Joab, you think normally when Joab says stuff, David would listen, and David. Sorry, my train is here, so I'm on the train. We'll continue when I come up. Okay, so I was saying before I joined, I took the train, that David was guilty, because he was the one that made the proclamation. He was the one that asked for the census. But Israel had done something that angered the Lord. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because David chose some people that were 30 and some that were 3. It could have been anything else. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But we always hit David with this. Like it was all on him, but it wasn't all on him. I used to think of it as innocent people getting hit by stray bullets of David's decisions. But by looking at it today, taking a step back, what led to all of this? It was the Lord's anger against Israel. So Israel as a country had done something, and God needed to deal with them. So David, I believe, was not exempt, because when God was talking about the sin, he did not remove David. So it must have been something they did collectively as a nation. And it brings me to this thing when we say, oh, I'm not a part of it, I'm not among. If your nation is guilty of bloodshed, you will, as even if you are not the one that used your hand to kill, you have to take it up and take it to the courts of the Lord, ask for mercy and for atonement, etc. He concerns you. Even if you are not the one that shed the blood, it concerns you. As long as you live there, as long as you are involved, it's a place of business for you, it's a place of living, it concerns you. Because when the plague is coming, it's not going to separate you from the other ones. Everybody will collect. When there's famine in the land, everybody will go through that famine. God may show some people mercy, but that's because they have gone to his court to collect exemption. Otherwise, it concerns you. So it was whatever it is Israel did. We don't even know what it was, but it was registered in the courts of the Lord as something that needed to be punished. And the entire Israel had a plague. A plague came on all of them. And so there comes Prophet Gad. I don't know what happened to Nathan at this time. I don't know where Nathan was, but Prophet Gad was the one that came and told David that you have messed up, you have sinned. And there was the sin of taking the census, but there was the previous sin that led to David taking the census. So they had to deal with both. And God now gave David 3 options. It's only David I know that God will be asking, tell me how you want me to punish you. I didn't see him ask anybody else apart from David in the Bible. He was the only one that I saw that God gave options. How do you want me to punish you? And he was the one that chose. So this their relationship. I don't like to be putting mouth, because if we put mouth and be guilty, after he has done what he has done, that you will think that God should punish David alone. God came to David and told him, choose your punishment. And he gave him 3 options, and David did not choose any one of those 3. He said, let me fall into the hands of the Lord, because he knew that all those other 3, but he knows that him and God, they are cool. God, choose it yourself. Choose the one you want to do. I will not choose. So see wisdom again. God gave him the opportunity to choose, but he did not choose. He put it back to God and told God, I will fall into your hands. Do what you consider to be best. Because he knows that God is merciful. So when God started the plague by himself, his eyes could not take it again. He now told the Prophet God now came to tell him that go and do sacrifice. And then David went to Araunah, the owner of that field. Hi, I want to tell you something about the threshing floor of Araunah. That threshing floor of Araunah was the place. It was in the same area where Abraham was going to kill Isaac, the mountain Moriah. That was that place. And that was where Calvary was situated. So it was one of God's sites on earth. And Araunah was just using it as a threshing floor. But it was a sacred place. It was a place that God had consecrated because his son was going to die there. It was, I would see if I can bring out the full research. But that threshing floor of Araunah, where God told the angel to stop the plague, that was where Calvary was. In those mount areas that Calvary was located, that was where Isaac was to be sacrificed. So there are some things that are in our possession. We are holding them in trust for other people, so we cannot hold them too tightly. Araunah was using it as a threshing floor, but it was a place of sacrifice. Sacrifice for Isaac, sacrifice for Israel, sacrifice for the entire world. Hi, just so we know. There are some places I really wish I could find that place. I would love to go to Israel and find that threshing floor of Araunah. It's a connection site. It is the place of sacrifice. So there are some things we are holding that we think is our own, but it really belongs to the Lord. And it's just for a time. When it's time, we need to let go of it. I know David was going to buy that land from Araunah, and Araunah said, "Oh, take it." Good heart, right? Good heart. And I love that perfectly. He was one of the good guys of the Bible. But David told him that I will not offer to my Lord that which cost me nothing. Hi. And they are wondering, why did God have a special relationship with David? David knew, he understood many things about God. He entered into the courts of the Lord. He had insights that was not available for his time. Even for our time, so some of us still don't have access. He had access to the courts of the Lord, the sweet psalmist of the Lord of Israel. He had access, so he knew that this is not the type of one that someone will dash me. I'll now go and dash God. He had to sacrifice to get it. It was a place of sacrifice. He also had to enter into the sacrifice by giving something. I know that a lot of preachers have used that to coerce people to give. But that's not what that place is about at all. It's not about forcing people and telling people to give your sacrifice. No. It's about entering into the sacrifice that is already prepared. Hey, Jesus said that you have already prepared a body for me. I come in the volume of the books. I come to do your will. That's what we are talking about. If I was one of those televangelists that use the scriptures to get people to do their will, this is the place where I would say, oh, give sacrificially and let's enter. No. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about getting into the courts of the Lord and downloading insights, knowing when to pay for something, when not to pay, when to collect free, when not to collect free. Whenever the Lord is telling you to give a sacrifice, whatever, you need to do it according to his prescribed way. I'm not going to tell you to send me any seed. That's evil. Anyway, so I just thought to share this thought with you. Please share with us whatever it is that stood out to you in 2 Samuel 24. Love you.